All right, so welcome to Real Estate Nuggets. I'm Brian Yampolsky, your host, and I interview real estate agents to find out how they reached their own personal level of success. And today I'm really excited that I get to interview my friend Sophia Sanchez from Tampa, or does anyone call it Tampa?
No, we do
Okay,
not call it Tamper.
we'll call it Tampa. She's at Smith and Associates, and she's been a realtor for like 100 years, and she knows everything. So I wanted to interview her and try and pull out a few nuggets from her to share with everybody. So you ready?
I'm ready.
All right. First, I think best question to start with is tell everybody how long you've been in the business and how did you actually end up getting into real estate?
That's funny. Okay, so 22 years I've been licensed here in Tampa. This is my 40th job.
Whoa.
I know.
Can't hold a job, huh?
I've never been fired from a single one. But what happened was I would hit a ceiling at every job. I'd go and I'd make somebody else more money and I'd get bored of it and I'd leave. So my dad at one point had said, "Hey babe, or hey kiddo, not babe, that's a little weird. Hey kiddo, have you ever thought about real estate? You know, you've got the personality for it. You want to be the boss. I've always had that entrepreneurial type mindset." And I went for it. And as I was sharing with my assistant this morning, my first home buying experience was a train wreck. And I knew there had to be a better way. And that also kind of helped propel things into real estate.
Good answer. Okay. When you started 22 years ago, do you remember what your biggest challenge was?
Trying to have everything be perfect.
Like what? Give me an example.
So I was writing personal notes growing up. I'm from a Southern family. So I was writing personal notes and thank you notes, since I was a young, wee little child. And everything, all the marketing between, making sure my marketing remarks were perfect and just my marketing in general. So working both on the business and in the business, it was like too much control and it was preventing me from going out and either asking for business or really scaling. So what I ended up,
Go on.
So what I ended up doing was my old business partner had recommended Buffini and Company, which is how I know you, right? It's been a game changer for us and through friendships. That she was like, "You're doing all of this really well, but this is already like set up to support what you're doing to help you stop doing the detail work and go and get more of the business." And that's what took me from here to here.
It's funny how did you phrase it? Working on your business and working in your business, two different things. And I think that was the biggest challenge for me too, because it's really, if you're uncomfortable going out there and trying to find new business, it's really easy to justify, well, I'm going to stay in the office today and work on all this stuff, or work in all this stuff, however you define it. But it can get to a point where, it'll kill your production, right?
Oh, sure. I called that productive procrastination.
Yeah, I can relate. Same in my business. Okay. So, what would you say is the one thing that people don't understand about what it takes to be a realtor?
Well, it's not spending all day on TikTok. It is knowing the craft with a sharp blade. You have to know the contracts. You have to know the ins and outs. You have to know where the landmines are that you're going to avoid. And the marketing piece isn't going to get you there. The marketing piece will get you the business, but if you can't safely walk your client through the field, you're going to have a problem on the other side. So I think that's the biggest thing a new agent could really focus on is understanding the process, streamlining the process, knowing the client touch points that are the most important, that are the most meaningful for your buyer or your seller, and getting them over there safely with a smile. I mean, I know that sounds kind of cheesy, but it's like, they don't know what they don't know. And there's only so much that you can Google and run through chat and Claude. Like, I get worked up because our market here we have more licensed agents in Tampa Bay, and you've heard me say this before because it just drives me nuts all day long, than any other market in the United States. And
is that true? Is that true?
True. I have run the numbers many times for many people that we know because they don't believe me. And I have to show it and prove it. We have more people in our area that are licensed than some states have as NAR members.
So what is that? Why is that a problem?
Because it creates more work for me. I'm cleaning up other people's mess. I am trying to convince and teach the other agent on how to save the deal that they are going to get paid on. And then they need to talk to their client to save the deal. So it's like, I'm talking to a middle person who's in the way of trying to keep the deal moving forward because they don't know. They're only doing 1 or 2, maybe 6 deals a year. And that's just not enough to really know the nuances to save it and make it really a great experience. Because at the end of
well, then this next question is going to be a good next question, because it is, if you could wave a magic wand and change one thing about real estate, what would it be? What drives you the craziest?
The thing that drives me the craziest are inexperienced realtors.
So you would wave a wand and just
would
every inexperienced agent to be 5 years experienced? Like
no, I would have them have more skin in the game. I would have the education process be more rigorous. I would have the fees increased significantly. I don't think that just, paying a couple $100 to get your license and you can go in and really have a bad name. There needs to be a level of professionalism that's raising the bar for the industry as a whole. Because when you do a deal, and I know that you feel the same way about this, like if I get an offer from an agent on one of my listings that's experienced, I light up.
Yeah.
And they would know me as well. They light up already. We are starting out. It's almost like we're starting out at 100 and are we going to get to 80 versus the flip side where it's like we're starting at 0 and I'm going to try to struggle to get it up to 80. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I do. The people that play a part in a real estate transaction are going to be the reason why it's either good or bad. And if you've got another agent or lender or title or anyone else that's excellent at what they do, of course, it makes your job easier and it just makes the whole thing better. I get it. I understand.
We're more solution focused instead of problem avoidance.
Yeah. All right. So if I asked you what is your number one key to success, how would you answer that question?
It's the relationships with people. I think I've written something like 6,000 personal notes, maybe more than that in my career, and taken people out for dinner. Like I think getting to know my people, getting to know who's my client, and really building my own little micro community of folks. I think that's where the magic happens.
It sounds cliche to say it's all about relationships, because it is a cliche, but it's true.
But it's a great cliche. It's like, okay, if it's going to be the cliche, it's that cliche.
But it's true too. Like it can be a cliche and be true at the same time. All right. I have another question that is one of my favorite ones. So what's your biggest failure in business or in life, and how did you recover from it?
I would say probably being a little naive, doing things because it's the right thing to do. And I would always still choose that as an option.
I don't accept your answer. I want a different answer. You can't say that your biggest failure is doing the right thing. That's not a failure. Dig deeper.
Dig deeper. What's my biggest failure? Maybe not sticking with social media as long as I could have, because I am this is going to sound so corny to your listeners, but I'm a trendsetter in my profile. So I'm usually doing things way before the herd knows that it's a thing. And then I get burned out by the time the herd finds out about it. So I was doing social media early on. I was teaching social media marketing for Central West Florida for Coldwell Banker. And I just got burned out. I did the first blog. I had a cease and desist letter from the corporate legal department. I did the first aerial drone video, cease and desist, take it down. Every time I would do these things, they would tell me to stop doing it, and then they would want me to teach other agents in the office. So then all the social media stuff and then all the videos, I just got burned out on it because then there became too much noise in the space and it wasn't special.
So why is it a failure that you gave up on social media?
Because I probably could have had a bigger voice. I could have had a killer TikTok channel. I could have stuck with something longer term, but I had such great success that I was focused more on the clients and growing my brokerage when I had my brokerage. I mean, I did killer. Like I crushed it, but I didn't have time. Social media was not necessary because my people did not find me that way.
Social media is an interesting thing. I feel like everyone's doing it because everyone's doing it because everyone's doing it. You know, like, is there really?
I want to go do other wonderful things. Like, you know, I love my yoga sauna community. Like that just lights me up. And I've already gotten, not looking to do any deals there, but now it's becoming a area for getting business. And I did not go there for that.
Because you've built relationships. Comes back to that.
Correct. Yes.
Right. All right. That's beautiful. Look at that. It all comes around. All right. So you and I met in Buffini coaching, right?
Yeah.
How would you describe your experience? What's it been like with hiring a business coach?
Game changer. I love accountability. It's kind of the way that I'm wired because they're holding me accountable for things that I already want. So that's a no-brainer. It was the reason I was able to open up my own brokerage when I left Coldwell Banker after 10 years and started Sanchez and Company. I think it keeps me organized and it keeps me plotting the path and working through the things that I want.
So you would do it again?
I would do it again, but see, I'm also now getting licensed to be a coach.
Oh, so you believe in coaching?
I believe in coaching,
yeah,
hands down. And I'm now taking on the route of life transition coaching, which is a big piece of what I love in real estate. And I do that all day long.
Interesting. All right. Switching gears to the way you do your business. So I know that you're focused on creating a really great experience for your clients. Mm-hmm. Can you give us a specific thing that you do to create a really great experience for your clients? Give me an example.
This is going to sound really silly, but one of my favorite things, once I can tap into their level of humor, there's all sorts of tips and memes and stuff that gets sent in the text thread. So I do a group thread with the family, like whoever's in charge. So there's a lot of open communication going on with that. We do client events. We have an escape room party going on this weekend, and that'll be fun for clients to participate with. We do, of course, different events like you do. Mm-hmm. But during the process, I think it's more just availability and presence. So not being distracted, making them feel like they're the only client that I'm working with, and being available. I think what would I want as on the other end? And I would want that. I would want to know that I always say that I'm kind of the Sherpa on the path. You know, we're climbing the mountain, and I'm going to take you through the easiest path with the less problems, and we're going to get to the other side. And I want them to feel supported and safe.
When you said, what did you say? I knew I was going to forget it. Damn it. When you say always available, what is being available? What does that mean? Does that mean you're taking calls at 9 p.m. or no? Okay. What does that mean then?
No, if my client thinks I am available at 6 o'clock in the morning, I have let them down because I have boundaries. I have a life, and I set the expectation from the beginning. There's no other industry, unless you have your doctor or attorney on speed dial, that's going to answer their phone at that hour. This is still a business, but it's a very blurred line of what we do as real estate agents, because we're dealing with people's lifestyle. We're dealing with their home. We're dealing with their family, their kids, like all of these things. And it's like, are you a friend or is it business?
Yeah.
And I think some people do get confused, but I have to remind them, this is still, my friends aren't going to call me at 6 o'clock in the morning. Although maybe if you called.
No, because that would be 3 o'clock my time.
Maybe I called at 6 o'clock in the morning, but anyway, go ahead.
I had an experience Sunday night, a realtor who I've done a little business with. She texted me at like 6:30 p.m. and said, I'm going to text you this referrals information so that you can call them tomorrow, Monday. And I texted back and I said, great, thanks. I'll call them tomorrow. And then she responded with, unless you want to call them right now. And I'm like, this is a test. And I said, I'm just sitting down to dinner, but I'll call him tomorrow. And when I called him the next day, there was no rush. There was no emergency. It didn't need to be Sunday night during dinner. So, remembering those boundaries and how to exercise them is, I think, a really important piece. That it, quite frankly, is easy to forget when you're hungry. When you really want to go out and kill it, you might want to be tempted. But I felt proud of myself for not doing that.
That's good. That's good. So I have an agent on my team who likes to send emails at 11 o'clock at night and 12 midnight. And we have had a number of coaching sessions where I'm like, you need to schedule these. These need to be going out at, I would much rather you send it at 5:30 in the morning or 6 a.m. versus 11, because you are then teaching your client that you have no life, that you have no boundaries. And someone like myself, I look at those things. I see that stuff.
Great point.
Why are they working at either they're overworked or they've got a part-time job? Like that would be my first go-to. Oh, they must work at Starbucks. They must be an Uber driver and now they're off shift and they're handling real estate, because that's what we're used to in this market of, all these people that work in our market.
All right. 3 questions left. Third to the last one is, what's the most important lesson that you've learned in real estate?
Throw money in the valley for a rainy day.
What do they call that? Throw dirt at the bottom of the mountain so that when you fall, it breaks the fall or something like that.
Yes. I'm a systems person, so I systemize everything, like David Bach said, years and years ago. But I take a paycheck. I live within, the check comes into the company pays me. I don't have to worry about that. But to get to that point as a newer agent, you've got to put money aside. You have to, because or don't spend the check. Like, why are you spending the commission before you get paid? Like, none of that makes any sense. These are not good business principles to have. Yeah. And an agent, his name's Dale Neighbors, and he's still in the business to this day. He might be realtor emeritus at this point. He's been in the business so long, but he told me that. And because I went around and I said, give me your best advice. This was to the veteran agents when I first got licensed. And he told me, he was like, put money aside for taxes, put money aside to build your business.
Yep. Nobody tells you, but
no.
Yeah, that's good. That's a good lesson. Second to last question. What's one piece of advice you would give another agent who might just be starting out right now?
Well, other than that, I would say don't go spend all the money where your broker wants you to spend the money, because the brokers want you to put their name out there. And being a broker, I never push that on my agents, but be very methodical on your plan. Focus on your plan first. What does your year look like? And you've got to stick with something for 6 years minimum. If you're going to farm a neighborhood, you've got to stick there in that market at least 6 years. Keep your brand consistent and clear. If you're not sure, you're not an aesthetic, if you don't have the optics, if you don't know your brand standards, get a professional to look at your collection of what you want to use before you start sending stuff out. And be consistent with it. You have to stick with it and be consistent.
Good answer. I wouldn't change a thing. Last question. Do you have an exit strategy?
I am working on that right now, Brian.
So no. Okay.
No, I do. I have global spectrum. So I'm already thinking 10 years down the road. But yes, we're working on that. This is why I will soon have my coaching certification, and I will be taking on more of the one-on-one, what does life look like, big transitions, and then giving my team more of the day-to-day. Okay.
That was cool. We have an audience here. Sophia, you did a great job. You gave a lot of good nuggets that I know people are going to appreciate. So thank you for your time. I even got a couple of good ideas. So thank you. And for people who are watching this and they want to watch more, there's going to be more interviews, but just call me when you need a mortgage. That's the other thing you need to do. And
if you know anybody in Tampa,
call Sophia.
Happy to help. You bet.